I want you to get together.
Welcome, everyone. You're now listening to the Question the Narrative podcast. And this evening, we have a very special guest with us, Paul from Understanding Conspiracy on YouTube. And if you guys haven't heard about him, you need to go check him out, subscribe to his channel. He's doing a lot of good work over there. So, what's up, Paul? How you doing?
I'm pretty good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So I first came across you probably about a month ago, and I'm not gonna lie, ever since I saw that video about you said if the millennial reign already happened, then who are we? You know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
I once I saw that video, it just kind of it's pretty honest ruined my life ever since in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh no, it's great, man. It's just it's crazy too because a lot of people they see that just as I did, and I almost scrolled over it, but then it just kind of caught my curiosity because a lot of people when they say that the millennial reign had already happened, it just triggers something in people. And like how you said, you didn't really grow up in the church, and you don't know the quote unquote rules. And so
No.
uh yeah, so I mean, it was a very, very thought-provoking video, and you said something in there that really just caught my attention. And you said that we don't know when we are, and I just had to stop and think about that for a minute or two, and that was just a very profound statement. And I don't know if you'd like to touch in a little bit on what your findings have been. That would be great, just as far as like the timeline and where are we, when are we?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, when you got in touch with me and you were saying, I want you to come on and talk about the millennial reign stuff. I was a bit set back because it's kind of I'm the guy who's known for talking about the Nephilim looking like clowns. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's my thing, and to somehow now be the guy who's talking about this particular topic, it's I don't want to do it a disservice, but I guess I want to preface everything I'm about to say with I'm not the first person to come up with this. All credit where credit's due. There are better people than me out there who have gone into this for years. And a lot of what I've discovered myself is off the back of other people's works, really. And I've got my own theories and ideas along the way, and people just seem to like listening to me ramble on about it for some reason. So I'm happy to do that with you guys today. But
Awesome.
for me, I've been in the conspiracy game for over a decade. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's I've been tracking the subjects as they come and go throughout the years, and how the conspiracy culture and the movement of truthers, follows these trends and concepts and ideas. And I've kind of spent years trying to create a holistic image of the truther culture to understand the conspiracy. That's kind of the name of my channel. So throughout the years, I've kind of deep dived into every topic imaginable and tried to create a bigger picture. So what is going on exactly? What is the conspiracy? How can we condense it into something like an elevator pitch, let's say? How can we best explain this to other people who may not know it's happening? And when the trends I basically saw over the last decade, it seems like the movement went from exposing government corruption initially and people questioning narratives, obviously off the back of something like 9/11.
Right.
People realizing the monetary control, the banking system control, the medical control, the media control, all the worldly stuff it starts with initially, and then things started to get spiritual over maybe the last 12 years. And there's always been this large contingent of maybe new age style truthers, people talking about frequency and consciousness and psychedelic drugs, the pineal gland type of stuff, sacred geometry. So people have always been questioning the validity of reality itself, and from that trend, we saw it slowly evolve into people talking about the flat Earth movement.
Right.
And this came not long after the end of the world phenomena in 2012. Everyone thought the world was going to end because the Mayan calendar was coming to an end. And I think that really sparked people questioning their lives in a big way, because a lot of people were really scared that the world was going to end and they were about to die. And I think that gets the ball rolling in a lot of people's minds to start going towards more spiritual concepts, and that's where we saw the rise of these big ideas, the flat Earth being the first of them, and then from that, from the 2012 period to the 2015 period, and maybe a little bit before, flat Earth was big. Alternative cosmology was huge. And then the Mandela effect turned up in around 2014 to about 2016. That was huge. That was the next big thing everybody was talking about. And people were
Right.
starting to question reality in a whole new way. And they were realizing things just keep changing. Nothing's consistent. We don't know what is or isn't history. We don't know if our memories are fooling us or if things are being changed. And again, we're not here to get into that today, but I think that also got people thinking that something's not right. Something is not right with our memories or our history. We're way off. And then from the Mandela effect, that kind of dissipated into like a niche subject for a lot of people, and then new things started to rise up, like no forests on flat Earth, which was showing that the Earth seems to be utterly destroyed. What we think is a beautiful planet, or I shouldn't use that word planet. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but what people think is a beautiful creation, a thing, whatever it is, an enclosed system or a thing floating in space, whatever. But what people consider the creation to this beautiful, perfect thing is actually a wasteland that's been absolutely mined to the core, and we're living on the husk of its remains. It's not this beautiful thing. And the trees we see everywhere, the forests, are practically moss in comparison to what used to be there. And I think that got people thinking about, again, history seems to be a lie. Something's not right, and there's always been the Anunnaki people, that believe that we are a slave class created by an alien force that appears every now and then. People then started to get into the whole mud flood thing after that theory started to pop up, and then Tartaria suddenly became the next big topic, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then everyone was into, okay, so history really is a lie. And that was obviously based on a lot of the work of Anatoly Fomenko, the Russian mathematician and artist, who came up with this new chronology series where he was trying to explain, that it seems like a lot of history is just contrived and condensed down to remove 1,000 years worth of history that happened, or to make it seem like 1,000 years worth of history has been inserted that doesn't really exist, to lengthen the amount of time that's actually been around. And the way he does that is he goes through these Eastern and Western narratives of great armies rising and great empires rising and falling, and he realizes they're identical, but just with different names throughout the mainstream historical narrative. And what he's trying to say is this particular culture over here that rose to prominence and then fell in, let's say, 400 AD, is the same culture that is described in 1400 AD that rose and fell. But we've been told they're two different ones. So someone's been lying here. Someone's been making stuff up and confusing matters to the point where, he makes this fantastic, compelling case that, we have no idea when we are, really, and the chronology is way off and history has just been written by the winners, basically. So, all these things I kind of watched throughout the years, and I've never been scared to get deep into each one, with each passing topic. And the Tartarian stuff never quite sat right with me because it's got quite a heavy Gnostic contingent behind it. Quite a heavy, it's all about the great reset, there's no hope, everything's about to end, and this world is a prison planet type attitude, and the controllers have full control over everything type of thing. But something was never quite rang right with it for me. Although I could see, yes, there's evidences for a shared global architectural style, which doesn't make sense because the narratives we're told about most of these buildings just don't work. They don't work. They cannot have been built in the time frames they said they were built. And some crazy stories come up that a lot of these buildings were burnt down, then rebuilt, and it's kind of, and the supposed technology these people would have been working with, none of it just added up to me. So I could see that was true, but I didn't quite understand how it could. The whole repeated reset thing just threw me off a bit. It's kind of, I feel like we're giving too much credit to this ancient Tartarian empire, or whatever that means, and we
Hmm.
have the history of the Tartars, and we know they were kind of isolated into mainly Siberia, Mongolia region, and Russia. There's no evidence that they were a global empire. Again, I shouldn't use that word, a worldwide empire. So something was off about it, but I knew, yeah, okay, there's clear evidences history is wrong. We are way off, and like many people in the conspiracy culture throughout this decade, I too have been keeping a close eye on the signs of the times. And most of Christian conspiracy, and even just mainstream Christian culture in general, never mind the conspiracy world, has had their eyes on the future coming of Christ. And we're looking for signs of tribulation to come to pass, aren't we? And the signs of the times. We're keeping our eyes on world events, looking for the mark of the beast and the false prophets and all these type of things. And that's predominantly what most people are focused on in the conspiracy culture when it comes to Christian conspiracy and wider conspiracy. Who is going to be the Antichrist? What is the mark of the beast? Are the signs in the heavens proving that we're in Revelations 13, for example, and is the moon at the woman's feet in Virgo, and therefore we were foretold this stuff. And people are just setting dates every month and every year. This is the end. Jesus is coming in this year, and it's been like that for a long time. And I've always seen many antichrists come and go. I've seen many mark of the beasts come and go. I've seen many end times pouring of the vials thing come and go. And none of it. As I'm a Christian myself, don't get me wrong. So that's me. I've been looking and I've been on board with that for a while, this futurist mindset. But then when this video started to appear talking about the millennial reign of Christ, my ears perked up because I realized I didn't really know anything about that. I never really heard of them. No one ever talks about the millennial reign of Christ. I had read it in Revelation, but I never really registered it, if you get what I mean, because it was just not on my radar as something that was important, or it's something that's way in the future that I will probably never see type of attitude. And I especially didn't really know about the little season, that this time after the millennial reign where the devil would be given a short period to take over everything once more, just as he did before tribulation began and before Jesus came and established his millennial reign. But then when I heard this video by somebody called Exploring Tartaria, she mapped
Right.
out this concept, which blew my mind. And I'm sure everyone who's been in this subject now has seen these videos, that she mapped it out perfectly and explained how we can see remnants all over the earth of what people call Tartarian architecture. It seems like it actually, iconography-wise, mainly revolves around saints and Jesus predominantly. And she put forth the idea of, is it possible we're actually in the little season and the millennial reign of Christ has already happened, and all of our history in the modern day, the past 200, 300, 500 years, however long you want to say it's been since the little season started, has been utterly rewritten, and our past has just been covered up to what truly happened. And we are not waiting for the second coming of Christ. That's already happened. The millennial kingdom has already been established in a physical sense on earth. It came in the clouds down with him. He's already resurrected the saints, and the rest of the dead get resurrected after the 1,000 years. And I'll let you speak from it. We can jump off from what I just said there and speculate on what that means to say the rest of the dead have resurrected. But that's basically how I got into it. That was my entrance point into this particular theory. But I sat on it for years, because that video came out years ago, and I've just been taking it all in for years, watching all the videos on this take to explain the Tartarian angle. Well, what's the Christian angle? Because I believe the truth is there in the biblical narrative. That's where I stand. But I'll admit I've never been able to square a lot of things up until this theory. A lot of things just didn't make sense with a Christian perspective until this happened. And I always knew there was something off about the futurist viewpoint, that we're always waiting for Jesus to return and establish his kingdom. The tribulation is about to begin. That never sat right with me. It was just a feeling, a gut feeling, there's something off about it. So when this theory turned up, it changed things. And I'll
Absolutely.
stop there. I'll let you guys speak and see.
No, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And Shane and I, we dug into this a couple of weeks ago, and the whole futurist theory thing and the third temple, and we actually dug into the 70-week prophecy of Daniel. And so the church today as a whole say that there's a pause in the 69th week, and this pause can be 2,000 years. So we're waiting on that last week to come to fulfillment, right?
Hmm.
But the whole thing with the prophecy of Daniel is, at the time he was prophesying that, there wasn't even a second temple that was built yet. And so a lot of people, either by deception or ignorance, are saying, well, that's prophecy of the third temple. But
Right.
the thing is that the second temple hadn't even been built yet. And at the cutting off of Messiah on the 69th week, he literally caused the sacrifices and the oblations to cease. And so they're wanting to recreate that, in a sense where we have to make another temple so that the sacrifices can start up again, in order for the sacrifices to then stop again, which doesn't make any sense, because it has already been stopped for, well, I mean, 2,000 years, but I mean, it might be a lot less from what we're speculating, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is what I mean. There's how they can kind of jam 2,000 years into the biblical narrative. You have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to make that, to square that and make that work. I believe Jesus at his word, and I think when he said, I am coming back immediately, the time is at hand, I believed him. And I believe he was talking to the people of that time, not to a future generation, us, And this is what I mean. It always felt a bit snake oily when people were preaching this futurist doctrine to me. There was something off about it, and I didn't know what to do or how to question it, because Jesus saved me personally. I know he's real, and my faith is in him, and I know it's the truth, but something about this mainstream doctrine, which everybody believes in Christendom, just didn't. At the back of my mind, it was always itching, like there's something off here, there's something off, And then when this theory came around, and like I said, I don't know the rules of engagement because I wasn't raised in a church, and I was saved in 2014. I'm 30 now, I'm 31 now, should I say? I'm getting older, and I'm still not a member of any church, because every time I tried, I'm not trying to disparage them, but they're just not thinking about these things. And it's not enough for me. It's just not enough for me, okay? I'm not looking to join these churches and cause strife and be a problem for anybody. So I think it's probably best I just stay out of it with my own ideas and thoughts, it's that type of thing. But again, I suppose when I started talking about these things on my channel, I was naive in thinking that, most Christians would understand what I was talking about. They would know about the little season and the millennial reign type of stuff, So I wasn't aware for the backlash I was about to receive, for even just speculating about the possibility of this being a thing. And I guess that's the difference between a conspiracy theorist Christian and a normal church-going Christian. It's just not on their radar, is it? And I mean, I've made a document, and I've been compiling quotes that kind of show that, yes, the Bible makes it clear, like unequivocally clear, that Jesus was saying it was going to happen immediately, not long after his death and resurrection, and after the transfiguration, he was coming back quickly. He wasn't coming back in 2,000 years. So I'll just get the document up, and let's just reel off a few quotes, and a few talking points based on this. But
Sure.
It says, Jesus will come soon, quotes. So we have Matthew 16:28. Jesus said, "Verily I say unto you, there will be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." I mean, people could say, oh, well, no, he was talking about, people will see him resurrect from the dead. That's not what it says. It says they will see him coming in his kingdom. That's not him raising from the dead. That's something else, Mark 9:1. And he said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that there be some that stand here, which shall not taste of death, till they see the kingdom of God come with power. So they're talking about the kingdom of God here, a kingdom of some kind, appearing to them in some way. And then people speculate he was being metaphorical. He's just talking about the power of Jesus's energy suddenly taking over the world or something like that. That's basically what they talk about, especially the amillennialists who say, the millennial reign's already happening and he's ruling from heaven with his father. It was never a physical kingdom, people always say. And again, I would argue that's not what it says. He's talking about people will see the kingdom of God come with power. They will see it. They won't feel it in the warm and fuzzies in their heart. They will see it. Like we have Luke 9:27. But I tell you of a truth, there will be some standing here who will not taste death till they see the kingdom of God. Pretty straightforward language. People right here in front of me right now will not die before they see me come back with a kingdom. That's pretty black and white language, Luke 2:26. And it was revealed unto him by the Holy Ghost that he should not see death before he has seen the Lord's Christ. Matthew 10:23. But when they persecute you in this city, flee into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. Now, you can speculate on where the true Israel is.
I wanted to get into that a little bit too.
let's just say, for the sake of the normies out there who are in this idea of Christianity, that the Middle East is where it is. The Israel we call Israel today is the Israel of the Bible. It's not very big, is it? There's not many cities they can flee to before he turns up. Romans 13:11 through 13, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. It's coming. There's an urgency behind the language in most of these books written by the apostles, and in Revelation. 1 Peter 4:7, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And people think they're talking to us. 2,000 years later, that's not what's happening. He's talking to people right next to him. They are writing letters to churches, to people who are waiting for him to come, for Jesus to return. And Peter's telling them, be sober, you guys, who I'm writing this letter to right now in the specific time period. And watch unto prayer, because the end of all things is at hand. It's about to happen, not 2,000 years later.
Right.
And again, I got more repeat quotes here, but let me see. Jesus repeated himself over and over again in the Revelation to John, the book of Revelation, in the start and the end. So in the beginning of Revelation, Revelations 1:1, things which must shortly come to pass. That's not talking about 2,000 years later when this was written on the island of Patmos, And you can speculate when, 70 AD, some people say 98, 96 AD, but I'm not going to trust any timestamp dates in any of these things right now, to be honest, because everything's up in the air as far as I'm concerned. But when it was written, he said in the very first line of Revelations, things which must shortly come to pass. Revelations 1:3, the time is at hand. Revelations 1:7, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. Now that's a big one.
Right.
The people who pierced him will see him come in the clouds, physically, on earth with their own eyes. They will see him come back with his kingdom. And those who actually crucified him will live long enough to see him come back. That's the words of Jesus Christ himself. I can't make him a liar just because I want to believe that I get to be in the millennial kingdom with him or something, or and don't get me wrong, not everybody has that attitude. Not everybody's upset because they don't get to rule for 1,000 years with him or live during this time of peace.
Right.
It's not fair to plaster everybody who has the futurist belief that that's what they want and why they're upset to have it taken away. It's not. Some people have just been in that world for so long, they haven't even comprehended that there is an alternative way of viewing it. So it's a shock to the system. It's just a shock, if you've done one thing your entire life and you've done so many works and based your life surrounding this idea that you're living during the time where Jesus is about to return. It can be shocking to find out that maybe you've been lied to and that's not the case. That there's been a cover up. There's some examples here of why we're not in tribulation. I got this quote from somebody who posted it onto a comment, and I thought it was really insightful. So I'll just read it to you, and it's a basic explanation. The current nation state of Israel, which was established in 1948, is not of God because the land promises made to Abram and the fathers were already fulfilled a very long time ago. This is recorded in the Old Testament. We see in Deuteronomy 1:8, 21, 11:24, Joshua 21:43 through 45, Joshua 23:14, and Jeremiah 32:23, and Nehemiah 9:7 through 8. King David and Solomon were in possession of the whole land up to the river Euphrates, as promised to Abraham in Genesis 15:18. This is recorded in 2 Samuel 8:3, 1 Kings 4:21, 24:2, and Chronicles 9:26. So the lands have already been occupied and the promise has already been fulfilled. So this new nation state of Israel we call today is not a fulfillment of a prophecy it's already been fulfilled and done and dusted and it's over with. Israel's continued occupation of the land depended on their obedience to God. And it was because of their national sins that they lost it. And that's recorded again in Deuteronomy and Joshua. The Jews were restored to the land after a 70-year Babylonian captivity, as promised by God in Daniel 9:2, but lost it again after rejecting their Messiah, Jesus, when Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD. So they've already got the lands back and then lost it again. Repeatedly, it's done. There's no promise of a new Israel. We're not in that time period. It's already happened. So people thought that was that global event, that world event of Israel being established was prophecy being fulfilled. And we saw not long after that the revival of the futurist doctrine in the Jesus movement in the 60s and the 70s, and a lot of people think that was mainly a counter-reaction to the counterculture of the hippie movement of the 60s and 70s. It was like a Christian counter-movement to the New Age movement that was rising up in rebellion. But you realise, in true controlled opposition fashion, even though the doctrine is sound, because they're talking about Jesus Christ being who he said he was and all that type of thing, it's perfectly sound as long as we are pre-tribulation. And that's the thing that they purported the most in the 60s. They purported that, we can see Israel as a nation state has been created, therefore it's premillennialism all the way to the end. Jesus is about to return, and that became the established doctrine of the modern world up until now. And it's sneaky. They kind of sneaked it in through the back door. Now, obviously, premillennialism has always been the basic thought process people have said so-called, but we don't know how far back our history actually goes and how much is true. People point to the Nicene Creed, don't they? The Nicene Creed, where it's written down by Constantine, tried to normalize the belief system, shall we say, of Christendom, and he ordered that this early church council in I think it was 340, was it? I'm maybe getting the date wrong there, but they created this creed, didn't they? And it's all pretty straightforward Trinitarian Christianity, up until the end where it says the Catholic Church is supreme over everything and we wait for his return. And people say premillennialism has always been the case since the early church fathers. Therefore, if you say anything else, you're a heretic. But I don't believe that has always been the case. I'm not 100% certain that was really written in 341, as they say, because history has been obscured and stretched and twisted to no ends. And it's possible he did appear not long after they wrote that, so it's still fulfilled and done. So they weren't lying, and it's already done. Noah Hadley of the Unexpected Cosmology, who I'm going to be talking to on Tuesday on my own channel, he's made a very good case that historically speaking, it seems like tribulation events did occur in 541. But obviously what we call 541 may actually be 50 AD or 70 AD, and we've just labelled it wrong with the wrong dates because the people that wrote the histories have lied to us, you know. So we don't know exactly how to piece the time puzzles together to make a coherent chronology necessarily, but this revival, we'll call it, of premillennialism in the 60s certainly solidified in the modern age that we are about to have tribulation happen again in the minds of people. And I don't think it always was the case. I think a lot of people coming out of the millennial kingdom, if it's true, you know, that it's already happened, I think there was a battle for a long time to make sure premillennialism becomes a prominent thought again. So I think, you know, there's evidences that people have shown that getting into who are we exactly, if this is the little season, you know, there's evidences to say that people have maybe survived through the millennial kingdom, people who lived through his reign. And only the saints, the already resurrected, perfected humans who lived for 1,000 years and didn't die, got to go with him to the beloved city, the camp of saints, shall we say, before handing it over to Satan for his little season. But that means there were still people around who may not have gone with him. Maybe it's possible some people just didn't want to leave their homes. It's possible because humans have always been rebellious. People didn't want to go with him, you know, and they wanted to stay where they were. Well, so be it. But Jesus' enemies also lived through the millennial reign, I believe. And they were forced to live through his reign because they had extended life during this time, you know, because everything was perfected and beyond normality, as we would call it today. And I think those people, once he cleared off, very quickly sided with Satan and took it upon themselves to eradicate history and keep the people who remember the millennial reign in line. And this is where we find insane asylums being everywhere during the early 1800s, late 1700s, just propping up all over the place. And, you know, religious fervour and delusion was one of the biggest reasons people were locked up in these things. And it seems likely the controllers who are survivors of the millennial reign locked up all the other survivors of the millennial reign who still believed in Jesus and knew that he had already reigned. So there's been a dark, concerted cover-up effort, it seems. All the research just keeps bringing more and more of this dark, disgusting history up, you know, that what we call secret societies today, you know, the conspiracy culture is obsessed with Freemasons and secret societies, you know, and they control everything. Well, these are the original people immediately after the millennial reign ended, when Satan took over, who controlled everything. They took control of everything. They were the foot soldiers of the little season, and they claimed ownership of all the free masonry everywhere, you know, and they're the ones who took control of the orphans. The Oddfellows specifically were the ones who took it upon themselves to look after all the orphans. Orphans of who exactly? Why were there so many orphans everywhere? You know, why was it? But is it possible the children of the millennial kingdom parents who were all locked away in insane asylums just needed putting somewhere and relocating and moving and filling up these empty cities that were left behind? There's so much speculation you can go through here, but mark my words, Jesus said himself he was coming immediately. The 2,000-year thing is a lie. It just is. And again, I don't have all the answers. I can't come to you guys today and say I've got it all mapped out perfectly.
Are you tired of the same old conversations? Do you often find yourself struggling to know what to say? Are you over discussing the news, sports ball, or the weather? It's time to put boring discussions behind you by leaving a copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns on your coffee table, your toilet, your local library, mother's car, boss's office desk, or that person you really like's bed instead.
What the hell is this?
Oh, that? Why, it's just a book about how the modern costume of a clown is a caricature of ancient giants and modern demons.
Stay away from my children.
This is a conversation you can't wait to have.
My family used to think I was crazy, but thanks to The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, they know I'm crazy.
The Nephilim Looks Like Clowns. It's no laughing matter.